Hey YouTube, how's it going? I know I made a video in roughly a year, but I never really had the urge to upload a video. It just kind of fell out of wanting to make them, I guess. But now with the new sets coming out, obviously the next Hidden Arsenal we get on Friday of next week, and we get Tachyon Galaxy next month. There's all kinds of new decks coming out, and it's going to be interesting, so I figure I'll start making videos again and uploading matches of all the new decks and stuff so you guys can kind of see what's going on. While I was gone, I went off to college and moved to a new local and everything, so it's a lot bigger. There's a lot more players. There's a lot of good players. A lot of bad players too, but there's also good players. So, but anyways, with the release of the Hidden Arsenal set next week, we get the obviously, and in my opinion, slightly overhyped Evil Swarm deck, and in that same set we also get the Constellar archetype, which is a deck that nobody's really talking about right now. I guess just because the Evil Swarm hype is overshadowing everything else. But I picked up the Constellar deck, like all the dual terminal cards, at the regional we had at our shop 2 weeks ago, I think. So I've been testing that with the Constellar Sombres and Constellar Omega, which are cards that aren't included in the dual terminal set, but we're kind of pretty sure is coming out in Tachyon Galaxy because they say they're going to give more support for Evil Swarm and Constellar, and the only cards that aren't out for those archetypes are obviously Constellar Omega, which is the rank 4 Exceed, which I'll show you guys, and then Constellar Sombres and Evil Swarm Karikion, or Cercion, or however you want to say it. I've heard it pronounced both ways, even though I'm pretty sure it's spelled with a K. And they're literally the exact same card. They do the same thing for both archetypes. So I'll show you guys those cards. I've been testing it with those as opposed to testing it now as soon as it comes out with the Hidden Arsenal, because I'm not going to play the deck until we get those, because it's honestly not worth it. There's no point in playing a deck with suboptimal cards if you don't have to. I mean, I've been playing Mono Mermail and Fire Fist and everything else. I have all those decks, so I play all that stuff like in tournament structures. But in the next month or however long, whenever we get Lord Tachyon Galaxy, I'll be playing Constellar. Probably not exclusively. I don't know that it's going to be a tier 1 deck because I honestly haven't tested against Elemental Dragons any, and I haven't tested against Prophecies post Judgment Day, so I don't know how well the deck's going to fare in the meta with those two particular decks. I kind of think it's going to be okay, but I really don't know. It'll probably just end up being a fun deck. But anyways, like I said, I've been testing Constellar, and all the deck profiles I've been watching, even though they're not playing with Sombres and Omega, they're still terrible. People just make really awful card choices, like not playing Sheraton, which I'll show you guys, and playing only like 1-star Cradle and all that stuff. And I'll explain all those cards in the deck profile, but I just think there's a lot of Constellar deck profiles floating around right now that are less than optimal even before we get Sombres. So I'm gonna jump in and show you guys kind of what I'm working on right now. I still want to fit in a couple cards, and the deck's at 42, which isn't awful, but I would like to cut it down obviously to 41 or 40, even though 40 is never going to happen. 41 is feasible, but yeah, I'll go ahead and show you guys the main and the extra deck. Even though the extra deck is still slightly a work in progress, it's complete right now and it's playable because you really only make like 2 or 3 cards in the extra deck most of the time. So the only reason I'm not going to show a side deck is because I'm not playing the deck until we get Constellar Sombres and Omega, and since those don't come out until hopefully they come out in Tachyon Galaxy, and obviously that changes the entire meta, so you can't really make a side deck preemptively until you know what until the meta becomes defined. So I'm just not making a side deck right now. But once that stuff comes out, I will definitely be re-uploading with what I'm working on, including a side deck. So anyways, I'll stop rambling and go ahead and get on to the deck profile. So I'm going to go ahead and cut to a video. I'm obviously going to change cameras because I have to do it down here. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut to that. So I'll see you guys there. Alright, so I'm just going to jump into the explanation of the deck and what all the cards do, since I guess the deck is new and nobody's really talking about it. Nobody really knows what it does. So I guess all the cards will probably need explanations. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to start with Constellar Sheraton. It's essentially the Stratos of the deck. I see a lot of people not playing it or playing some number that's less than 3. And I'm not really sure why. It's, like I said, it's a Stratos, and the deck is very reliant on 2-card combos. So you always want to have the combo pieces in your hand. And I guess the excuse that people use is that it's only 700 attack. But the logic behind that is slightly flawed just because of what it grants you. Like, most likely you'll take something less than 2,000 life points. You'll take like 1,200 or 15, 17, something, which is really worth it to get your combo going. It gets you to what you need. It can search Sombre's late game, which is just insane. So there's a lot of things that the positives outweigh the 700 attack, like, minus, I suppose. The defense is 1900, which isn't terrible. It seems kind of irrelevant, but if they have, I don't know, like a Thunder King and you can't kill it at that moment, then setting Sheraton just to shot block is never a bad plan. You can always just draw into combos to answer the Thunder King, so I don't really see why you would play any less than 3 Sheraton, and it's a Stratos and it gets you to what you need. So not playing any just seems kind of ridiculous to me. The next card is Constellar Algaty, and she is essentially the Marauding Captain. She says, when this card is normal summoned, you can special summon a level 4 Constellar from your hand. So she combos really well with Constellar Kaus and Sombres as well. But yeah, she doesn't really do anything outside of that. And then Constellar Pollux, which is... Hold on just one second. Constellar Pollux is the monster that grants you the double summon. He's the caster of the deck, even though he's the light version of caster, so I guess he's like the original in a sense. But yeah, he just grants you another normal summon. The cool thing about it is, if he is summoned successfully, he can, even if they effect Veiler it or Fiendish Chain it or whatever, it doesn't matter because the effect has already happened. So it can't be negated in a sense. I guess, yeah, it's one of those things where, like, regardless of what they do, it's most likely going to happen. And then Constellar Kaus, which is arguably the best monster in the deck. He is the most important monster, I guess. I would go as far as to say that. His effect is up to twice per turn. You can target a Constellar monster on the field and either increase or decrease its level by 5. So most of the time you're going to either use Pollux or Algaty with special summon or double normal summon Kaus, and then make them both 5, and then summon Pleiades. And once you summon Pleiades, you're hopefully in a good enough position that you can just control your opponent's board all the way to the end of the game. So yeah, Kaus is definitely one of the best monsters in the deck, probably the best one. Constellar Sombres, he's one of those cards that we're not getting until Tachyon Galaxy, hopefully. And I just went ahead and printed off English proxies just because since I won't be playing the deck until we get this card, there's no point in me testing the deck without this card. So I figured I would just go ahead and get ready for when we get it. It is the light version of Krikion, and it does the exact same thing. So if you know what either of those do, it says you can remove a Constellar from the grave to add one to your hand, and then you get to normal summon again. So usually the play is after you've already made a Pleiades or something, and you have 2 Constellar monsters in your grave, you'll remove either the Pollux or the Algaty, and then get the Kaus to your hand, and then normal summon it again, and then make another Pleiades or Omega or whatever the situation calls for. It's pretty insane. It's one of the best top decks that you can rip on your opponent, I guess, to just win the game. But yeah, it's pretty good. And then you play Honest, because every monster outside of Fire Fist Bear is a light monster, including the Exceeds. Most of the Constellar monsters that you'll make in the extra deck are light, so yeah, it's obviously it's good because it's Honest. And then Bear, because you play a 3 Tenkai to search out Constellar Kaus, because Kaus is a Beast Warrior. So yeah, you can just search Bear to blow up something, get yourself another Tenkai. It's good for the obvious reasons. And then the spells is 3 Tenkai, because like I said, you can search Kaus or Bear with it, which seeing as Kaos is the best monster in the deck, there's no reason to not play Tenkai to get to it. There's effectively 6 ways to get to Kaos with Sheraton and Tenkai, so you'll have it most of the time when you need it. And then you play Duality because it's Duality and it just adds consistency to the deck. Usually, you do it like you'll Sheraton and then Duality, or you can Rhoda and then Duality, whatever, just to hopefully get to your other combo piece. It's good for obvious reasons. It's Duality. And then the next cards are MST and Lance, which are, once again, good for obvious reasons, just because you want your plays to go through. So, preemptively MSTing like a torrential, compulsory, whatever, that's obviously good. And then Lance is good for the same reason, so I don't think there's much explanation needed for those cards. I think Lance is an absurd amount of money because it's good, so... Constellar Star Cradle is a themed salvage, and it just lets you add 2 Constellars back to your hand from the grave, but you can't conduct a battle phase the turn you activate this card. So the play usually goes, you'll Pollux into a Kaos, and then if they torrential you, then you can just activate Star Cradle, get those cards back to your hand. Seeing as they torrential you, you probably aren't going to conduct your battle phase that turn anyways, so it doesn't hurt you. It essentially just made them use a torrential. So it's really, really good, and it's one of the best top decks you can have. You can top deck it late game, and it's really good. I bring up top decking because this deck does lose hand size pretty quickly. There's not a whole lot that will help you retain your hand. So cards that allow you to get cards back to your hand or do 1 card exceeds are obviously very good. And then you just play the staples, Reborn, Heavy, Dark Hole, and then you play Rhoda because Pollux is a warrior, so you just search it and then you can go off. It's obviously really good. The trap cards are 3 Fiendish Chain, which I think Fiendish Chain is probably one of the best trap cards in the game right now. It's good versus the entire field, even versus water where it seems like it wouldn't be good. Chaining it to a Megalo and not letting them get the summon for the Sphere or the Squall is still really, really good. So, I mean, there's no reason to not play 3 Fiendish Chain. Bottomless, obviously, is good. I think that there's a lot of trap cards that need to be worked around in this particular deck, but Bottomless is good for right now. And then Mirror Force. Mirror Force is obviously a really, really good card. You'll just catch bad kids off guard with it. They'll just summon a bunch of shit and attack into it and just get angry. But it's really good because a lot of decks obviously spam right now, so it punishes overextension without precaution into back rows. So yeah, it's good. And then Warning and Judgment, just because they're Warning and Judgment, there's no reason not to play either or both. If Warning was at 2, I'd obviously be playing 2, so that's pretty much how that goes. And then the extra deck is, it's still a work in progress right now, but it's, for the moment, it's good. And I need to figure out what all I want to play. Obviously, I want to try and fit in Volcasaurus and the Gaia Charger combo, and there's room for it. I would just be cutting things I never make, and I'd like to play Tyrus, not so much Adrius because Pleiades will essentially achieve the same thing. But anyways, right now as it stands, it's Leviathan Dragons and Mains, Maystroke, Gemnite Pearl, Gaga Cowboy, Abyss Dweller, Shockmaster, and Shockmaster is really, really good because it's 2 cards with a Sombraze and either Algady or Pollux, so 2-card Shockmaster is obviously really good. And then Paladynamo. Starleaf's Paladynamo is obviously amazing. Its effect is you can detach 2 materials and target an opponent monster, reduce that attack to 0. If its attack goes to 0, its effect is negated. And then when it dies by either card effect or battle, you draw a card. So it's really good. 2 light monsters, and everything is light outside of bears, so it's pretty easy to make. 2 Constellar Omega. Omega is the other card that hopefully we get in Tachyon Galaxy. And just like how Evil Swarm has Infestation Pandemic, the field-wide Lance card, Omega does the same thing. It says once per turn, during each player's turn, you can detach a material all face-up Constellar monsters are unaffected by spells and traps, so it's obviously really, really good. And it's 2400, so it's a good standalone monster. It's not going to get killed very easily, especially with back row protecting it. So, and then Pleiades, which is definitely the best monster in the extra deck. Its effect is once per turn during each player's turn, you can detach material to return a card from either player's side of the field back to the hand. So the usual name of the game is summoning Pleiades and then not letting your opponent summon anything. And then once this runs out of materials, you make a Messier 7, and then use like a Sombraze or a Star Cradle to just make another Pleiades. By that time, the game's usually over. So it's definitely the best monster in the deck. It's the boss monster pretty much. I make it more than I make any other card. I go through 3 pretty frequently, so sometimes I wish I had 4. Yeah, it's definitely the best monster in the extra deck. And then Messier 7, which it is, I don't know, it's like a Gaia Dragon, essentially. You just get to overlay it over top of a Constellar Exceed. So usually once you've used all the materials on either Omega or Pleiades, you just put this on top. The downside is the turn you summon it this way, you can't use its effect, but obviously after that you can. And its effect is you can detach material to return a card from either player's field or grave to the owner's hand. So you can use it to get Sombraze back to your hand. You can get Bear back Honest, which is pretty insane sometimes. So it's really good. But yeah, that's pretty much the entire extra deck. And that's the deck in its current form. I'll be making changes to it, and I'll probably upload a video sometime eventually showing the updates I've made. I'm not going to be one of those guys that uploads a update video every week. I find that annoying personally. But yeah, I'll post up an update eventually. But until next time, I'll see you guys.